Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. Welcome to my Mini-Mandala series. In these videos, I show you how to draw a little mandala using just a few basic tools. So I have a micron pen. This is a PN, plastic nib pen. Any pen or fine line pen will work. I have a graphite pencil to do some drawing and shading. I'm using a coin to start. This is a penny. And then I have a piece of scrap paper that I use to help me make a grid. And then my sketchbook is just a 5" by 5" sketchbook. So all of my mandalas are about 3 or 4 inches large. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the coin and my pencil. I just pick a spot on the paper. And actually I'm going to do my pen today. I'm going to go ahead and do my pen. And I'm going to trace around that coin. To get that circular shape. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a horizontal line and a vertical line. And I do this just by guessing where I think the center is. And then I just bring that line out nice and lightly. Same thing with that line. I don't typically use a ruler. I just like to do my best with what I've got. Okay, then I'm going to do a line out this way, dividing this square into 2 triangles. And I do that in each of the 4 sections. And if I notice that like one section is a lot smaller than another, I can just adjust my line and go over a little bit. And I just check to see, are these pretty similar? And I think they are. Okay, before I get drawing, I'm going to make a few outer circles to work with. So to do this, I put a piece of scrap paper right on the edge of my circle and on this first line. And then I decide where I want my next circle to be. So for this mandala, we're actually going to make it out a little ways. So I'm leaving about 2 pencil widths. And I make a mark on the paper and then onto my book. And I go around my circle and I put a little mark on each line. So when I draw my mandalas, I'm drawing them for you guys, but I'm basically just drawing them for myself. I don't sell these. I don't even usually give them away. It's just a time for me to relax and enjoy making little lines into beautiful artwork. So I'm not going to overthink the symmetry or overthink the lines or the width. It's not that important. Okay, now I'm just very lightly with my pencil connecting each of these with a slight curve. Forming that circle. My circle is not perfect. I like it that way. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pick up my pen again, and I'm going to go on the outer part of that first circle that we made, and I'm going to put in some wide bumps. And I'm not going to worry about how many I have in each section. I'm just going all the way around, trying to keep them similar sizes. And then as I get close to that first one, I just want to make sure I can squeeze those in there, okay? And then I'm going to color those in. can adjust the size as you color these in. If you feel like one is a little too flat or small, you can make it a little bit larger by adding some more ink. You can round them out a little bit. Okay. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to go back into the center and I'm going to put a couple of circles. So I'm going to put one circle just right around that middle where all of those little lines cross. And I'm going to go over it a couple of times to make it nice and dark. I'm kind of widening it also as I go. Now I'm going to do another one next to it and pretty close to it. So I'm going to go really slowly around. These free-form circles are a little tricky. Don't worry if yours isn't exact. I'm going to go over that a couple of times also to thicken that line. Okay, now I'm going to go to this next section. I was looking at a mandala coloring book while waiting in line at a grocery store, and I saw a mandala similar to this, and they have these little dots floating. And I realized that in all the mandalas that we've made together, I'm almost always connecting to one line or another, and I don't have things just floating, so we're going to do that a little bit. So I'm going to put a dot close to this line. I want to leave some space up here, so close to that center, and I'm going to put one on each of those lines. Can zoom in a little bit. Oh, changed everything. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to put another one in between each of those. If you don't have room, then just do the first ones. And then I'm going to go to this outside edge of our circle, and I'm going to put on each of these lines a little triangular shape, and I'm going to color that in. So just where these lines are that we made. Little triangles, coloring them in. I like how that makes these little petal shapes that are not rounded. They're a little bit more squared off. Okay, so here's going to be the tricky part. We're going to ink in this outer circle, and I know that when you do it, you're going to be like, oh no, mine is not rounded perfectly, it's uneven. It's okay, but I am going to ink this in. So I'm just going to start at one of these sections, and I'm just going to curve my line. And I'm basically just going from one section to the next and then kind of stopping for a breath. Okay, that wasn't too terrible. All right, so we're gonna play a little bit with this wider space here, just kind of for fun today. So I'm gonna go on this outer edge again, just inside, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. So right on these little lines, these little intersections, 1, 2, 3. And I'm making them go about halfway. You can make them taller, you can make them smaller. But playing with this idea that you don't have to always start from the center and work out. You can start at the outer edge and work in. I enjoy doing the 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to color in that first little bump. If you follow my Zentangle videos, this is called a crescent moon. And we make this little, looks like a rainbow, but it's a crescent moon it's called. When you start out with this little bump and then add some more around it. It's a nice relaxing pattern to make. These don't have to be colored in, but I am doing it because we made bumps out here and colored them in, and I like to repeat what I've done in there out here. Okay, so now I'm going to add some in between, and this time I'm not going to worry. Let me show you. I'm going to do 1, 2, and then I don't have enough room for a third, and that's okay because I will just make it go from one side to the other. And then it kind of looks like it's tucking in behind a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to put in 3 bumps and color that little first one in. Some are going to be further apart than others. So we're letting ourselves just not worry about that. These ones are really close together. That's okay. Okay, I love that. So the next thing we're going to do is do some more of these floating dots. But if you have a lot of space here and you're not liking how white it is, you could add an aura and go over each of these bumps. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just saying if you made yours really tiny, go ahead and add some more details or add the aura. So I'm going to make my bumps or my dots about halfway between this and the bump. I'm going to make them a little bit larger than the ones I made inside. And I'm going to put one on each of these lines. And then I'm going to put another one in the center. So in between those lines. I enjoy these floating dots. Okay, I'm going to make an aura very slowly around that circle. And these auras tend to turn out a little bit wiggly. It's okay. My aura got really wide there. That's how we know it's handmade. Okay, now I want to thicken this line, so I'm going to just go alongside it, maybe add a little aura and then kind of color it in as I go. Or you can grab a thicker pen, whatever works for you. I just want to give this outer edge a thickness. Playing a little bit with thick and thin lines can add so much to a design. This one got really thick. Okay. Add a little bit more thickness and then it will be done. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, so there's, zoom out a little bit. There's our thick edge. We've got one more layer to do. So I'm going to pick up my pencil again, and I'm just going to, just sort of figure out how far out I want this. If you would like to use your scrap paper again, you can make a new little line. I'm doing it about 1.5 pencil widths, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it in myself and hope for the best. Okay, so this is going to be the outer edge of our mandala, the last thing that we're going to do. So I'm going to put an extra grid line in between these two lines. I'm just going to add another one in between these two. I'm just kind of dividing it in half. It's not important that it's exactly right. Just give ourselves a few more lines to play with. Okay, so now I'm going to go from this first line here up to the top and then back down to this side. So I'm going to show you on here that I'm going to go like this. If you would like to be a little fancy, you can go and just sort of curve it up at the top and curve it up at the top. It's a little bit fancier, but if that's tricky for you, I don't want it to become stressful. Okay, so I'm just going to go from here up to the top and down to that next line, up to that middle and down. Got it? Okay, then in the center of each of these, I'm going to go not right on the center, but out a little bit, and I'm going to make this cute little, like a top of a candle flame. So I start out a little bit wide and I come in tight and tight. Make whatever shape you want right there. If these ones are tricky or you don't love them, put in a different one. Inside each of those, I'm just going to put a seed shape, which is just a pointy oval, and I'm going to add some ink inside of it. My cat just joined me and she's scratching for treats. These little oval shapes. Okay, now I'm going to do those floating dots again. So I've got the space around this little candle flame, and I'm going to put a large dot on each side, and then 2 smaller dots, and then hopefully 1 tiny one if I can fit it. So I'm doing large dots, medium, and small ones. Large, medium, and small. It's kind of a nice fast way to fill in a space without having to do a lot of pen work. Okay, to finish this off, I'm going to add in some triangle shapes. I guess it's more of a mountain. 1, 2. In between each one. 1, 2. 1, 2. It's fun to mix shapes and lines that are straight or pointed and some that are more rounded. And then we're going to do some more floating dots to finish it off. So I'm going to put a large one at the top of each of those pointy shapes. And I'm going to go medium, tiny, medium, tiny. Down the sides. And lastly, I've got all this space where I put those points. So I'm going to add a few more of these little pointy ovals inside each one. Many times when I think I'm done with my mandala, I'll go back and just add more fill to a section. Maybe I would go back and add some things in these little rainbow shapes, or maybe I would add some lines around these little petals out here, or add some lines or circles inside these. There's so many ways to keep going. If you're just kind of feeling that calm and enjoying that moment, then don't stop. Keep it going. All right, I'm going to initial my work. Then I'm going to take my eraser. Just get rid of some of these pencil lines. Got a hair on mine. All right, there we go. And I'm going to do a little bit of shading. You don't have to do this part, but I like some of the depth that it adds. So on this inside here, I'm going to go just underneath those dots. Put a little bit of graphite. And I forgot my blending tool. Sorry about that. So I use this little blending tool called a tortillon. You can use a Q-tip, you can use your finger, whatever you want, just to smooth that out a little bit and push it away from the center. Then I'm going to go to these little bumps we did here and just add a little bit of graphite on the top of each one. Just a little bit. And then add my blending tool and use that to push it away from the center, giving it a slightest little shadow. Look at that depth. Okay, now I'm going to put it on top of these little bumps. All the way around. Trying not to get it on the inside of that image, just on this little outer edge here. And then I push that away. And I'm trying to leave some white in the center that acts as the light and allows these little shadows to offer some depth. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go to the outer edge of this dark line here. I'm going to point my pencil right at it so that the graphite goes right up against it. Soften that by pushing it away from the center. Look at that shadow. Isn't that beautiful? I'm not concentrating on mine too much as far as making the blending really beautiful, but you can spend some time trying to make the darkest part be against the line and really soften it going out gradually. So cool. All right, the last part that I'm going to shade today is right in between these two petals. And I'll push that out and show you what that looks like. It just sort of tucks these ones in behind the other layer. Put the graphite on each of those. And push that out. If you have more places that you would like to do this, please go ahead and do so. I think I've added enough. All right, so as always, I initial my work, and then on my page, I write the date that I made it, and then I write 1 or 2 sentences. I use my mandala book as just kind of a journal. I don't write a lot. I just write 1 or 2 sentences about what's going on in my life this week, something that's been on my heart, maybe somebody I'm thinking about, and it just helps me remember that while I was making this mandala, just some of the things that I was thinking through. So I hope that you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a lovely week.